What does it feel like to be underestimated, only to turn the tables in a single, breathtaking moment? The restaurant was a cathedral of decadence, its crystal chandeliers casting a warm golden glow over polished mahogany tables. The air carried the faint clink of fine china and the murmur of wealth. Daniel adjusted his tie, his heart a quiet drumbeat as he stepped inside. 3 years ago, he'd been a nobody in this world of excess, scraping by on dreams and grit. Tonight, he was someone else entirely, but not everyone knew it yet. Across the room, he spotted her. Lila, his ex, sat at a corner table, her laughter sharp and familiar, cutting through the hum of the crowd. She was with a man in an ill-fitting suit, his gestures loud and performative. Daniel's chest tightened. Lila had left him when his startup was bleeding money, when his apartment was a single room with peeling paint. "You'll never make it," she'd said, her voice dripping with pity. "You're not built for this world." Her words had haunted him, fuel for sleepless nights and relentless ambition. He chose a table nearby, not to confront her, but to savor the irony. The waiter, a man with silver hair and a practiced smile, approached. "Good evening, sir," he said, his tone warm but neutral. Daniel ordered a glass of Bordeaux, his voice steady, though his pulse raced. Lila's gaze flicked toward him, her eyes narrowing in recognition. She leaned toward her companion, whispering, and Daniel caught the edge of her smirk. She rose, her heels clicking on the marble floor, and sauntered over. "Daniel." Her voice was a mix of surprise and mockery. "What are you doing here? Can you even afford this?" Her words were a blade, meant to cut deep. Her companion chuckled, leaning back in his chair, watching the scene unfold like a cheap drama. Daniel met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "I'm just here for dinner, Lila," he said, his voice calm, almost too calm. Inside, he felt the old wounds flare, but he held them at bay. He wasn't the man she'd left. Not anymore. Lila's lips curled. "Still chasing dreams, huh? Some things never change." She turned to leave, her laughter trailing like a taunt. Daniel sipped his wine, the rich flavor grounding him. He didn't need to prove anything, not yet. The waiter returned, but this time his demeanor shifted. He bowed slightly, his voice low and reverent. "Welcome back, Mr. Carter," he said, loud enough for nearby tables to turn. "Your usual table is always reserved, of course. Shall I prepare it for next time?" Lila froze mid-step. Her companion's grin faltered. Daniel felt the room tilt, the weight of their stares pressing against him. He smiled, a slow, deliberate curve of his lips. "Thank you, Marcel," he said, his tone warm but firm. "This table's fine for tonight." Marcel nodded, his eyes gleaming with respect. "Very good, sir. And may I say, the staff is thrilled about your latest venture. The city hasn't stopped talking about it." Lila turned, her face a mask of disbelief. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice sharper now, unsteady. "What's he talking about, Daniel?" Daniel leaned back, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. "Just business," he said, his tone light but laced with steel. "You were right, Lila. I wasn't built for your world. So I built my own." Her eyes darted between him and the waiter, searching for a crack in the facade. There was none. Daniel's startup, once a desperate gamble, had become a tech empire. The man she dismissed was now a name whispered in boardrooms, his wealth quiet but undeniable. The restaurant, this bastion of elite society, knew him not as a dreamer but as a titan. Lila's companion coughed, clearly uncomfortable. "We should get back," he muttered, but Lila didn't move. Her face was a storm of emotion, shock, envy, regret. Daniel felt no satisfaction, only a quiet release. Her words had once defined him, but now they were dust. "Enjoy your evening," Daniel said, his voice soft but final. He turned his attention to the menu, dismissing her without malice. Lila lingered for a moment, then retreated to her table, her heels no longer confident but hesitant, almost lost. As the evening unfolded, Daniel dined alone, savoring the meal and the moment. He thought of the years of doubt, the failures, the nights when he'd wondered if Lila was right. But he'd clawed his way up, not for revenge, but for himself. The waiter's bow, the whispers of his success, they weren't the victory. The victory was in the man he'd become, unbroken, unshaken, and undeniably himself. He left a generous tip, nodded to Marcel, and stepped into the night. The city lights stretched before him, a canvas of possibility. Lila's voice echoed faintly in his memory, but it no longer held power. He was free not just of her, but of the need to prove anything to anyone. Sometimes, the greatest triumph isn't in proving others wrong, but in proving yourself right. Daniel Carter had done just that, and the world would never underestimate him again.